Hello everyone, hello, yes, second or first, depending on which order I've done it, of my first impression series. Diablo 4 this time, Diablo 4, yeah, so basically as you know, Diablo, essentially was the fourth edition, or at least the fourth iteration, I guess you'd say, of a long-running, action, I guess they're called action RPGs nowadays. Not sure what they would have been called in the past, but that seems to be the term that's used now. I guess it was always action RPGs, although that tended to involve games like Secret of Mana back in the day. That was an action RPG, games like that really. But I guess it's the same difference really. But these ones have got more. Basically, more focused around character builds. Picking a character class and making a build of it by picking certain spells and upgrading those spells and trying to find the best possible combination of these things to maximize your character's interactions in the world one way or another. So basically you get presented with, I think it's about 5 different characters, things like Necromancer, Barbarian, Druid, Archer, I think it's Rogue, I think it's actually not Archer, Rogue, but basically an Archer kind of type person, a Magician, and yeah, I might have mentioned Necromancer. So you get these options here, and basically once you pick that, you get thrown into the deep end. It's very much a bleak world. It's where the daughter of hatred, this lady called Lilith, is basically been summoned back into the world one way or another, and she's sort of having a negative impact by turning people. I don't think she's necessarily, she's evil as such, but I don't think she's necessarily evil, if that makes sense. She's got her own agendas, but not necessarily 100% evil, if that makes sense. But they have a negative impact on the world, basically, because she manifests hatred in one way, shape or form. It seems to anyway, makes people go a bit nuts. And but the world itself, I think is just generally not a very nice place. It's all bleak, everywhere's dark, dismal, everyone's in poverty for the most part, and there's just lots of dead bodies everywhere, and this, that, and the other. And obviously the whole incantation of Lilith and stuff is not nice, and it's just all demons and stuff like that. It's all this kind of game. It's not a nice game, but it's not horrific though as far as horror's concerned. It's not jump scares and scary game to play. It's just, there's blood everywhere, dead bodies, and you go into, it's just not, you fight demons and things, and it's all that way inclined. But not a pleasant game. But lots of voice acting. It's all voice acted really well. But basically, you're just wandering from bleak place to bleak place. It's all seems to be set in a sort of Eastern European setting almost, where everyone sort of speaks a bit, like old school Transylvanian type accents or whatever. I'm not sure how you describe it, but you get that impression sort of thing. So interesting one, yeah, interesting game. So I think it's one of those where, at the end of the day, though, it is what it is. It's basically the same kind of thing like all these other ones, like the previous Diablos, Torchlights, these kind of games, which just, you're basically just presented. You can play multiplayer. You're presented with, lots of missions, the main quest, and sort of side quests. There's millions of them, tons of them. There's online play as well, so you can team up with people. And obviously, there's post-game stuff you can do as well. You have like the concept of a sort of world level that some games have nowadays, so you can increase that to make the game harder, which gives you more loot and XP. It's more like, it's kind of like one of these where you're just getting lots of loot all the time. You can dismantle your loot to make better weapons, and you can augment it and stuff, and it gives you better perks and stuff like that to increase your character's output and this, that, and the other. But basically, at the end of the day, you're just running around, going from place to place, picking up quests, carrying out these quests. You finish one quest, and then you get 2 more, with side quests, and before you know it, you've played it for about 10 hours, and you've only done one of the main story missions. You've just done loads of side quests, and they basically are kind of the crux of the game. You'll be going through, just in it doesn't seem that difficult. I've done it on normal difficulty. I think it's easy and normal to start with. I've not had any trouble with normal. I've died a couple of times, but only when this sort of quite difficult random boss appears in some dungeons that's not really part of the level, and he's just quite difficult for my character to kill. I think I need to do something specific, and he just beats me. But other than that, I think I've rarely died. I've been a bit hairy moments a couple of times, and one time when I was trying a different build, it just wasn't good enough. It wasn't as good as my original, so I reverted back and had no problems after that. But generally, it's not too difficult, I don't think, really. Obviously, when you get the nightmare difficulty, I think it's called the harder difficulties, but then your character's stronger then, so maybe it's not so bad, I don't know. But yeah, I think generally the voice acting seems to be really good. The cutscenes are great, I think, with Lilith, but they seem to be a bit few and far between, I think, because you're doing all these side quests, but when they arrive, they're pretty good. But at the end of the day, you're kind of just doing the same thing over and over again. And people like that in this game. That's what it's kind of about. You're just increasing your level of your character, doing quests, carrying out things, improving your character, getting better armor, improving your armor, and then getting rid of that armor, getting better armor, improving that armor, getting rid of that, and you killing more baddies, getting up a level, increasing your abilities, going through a skill tree to pick different abilities that complement each other, and then you're equipping stuff to help that out as well. You can do various quests to get sort of augments for your character also. I think also some of the things you do persist between characters as well, so you don't have to do everything multiple times in some instances. So it's one of those. Yes, it's an interesting one, but it's very similar to I say Lost Ark as well. It's that kind of thing. That's a free to play game, but has lots of ways of paying for various things. But so does Diablo. It has cosmetics you can buy and all this, that, and the other. So while it's not a free to play game, it does have some of the similar concepts as free to play games, but perhaps not quite as much. But there is cosmetics to buy and things like this. Generally, it seems pretty good, though. It seems good, but it is what it is. You're literally just doing the same thing over and over again, just in different areas. And, you'll go from point A to point B, complete a quest by killing everything. Then you'll do another quest, which is usually it could be a fetch quest, but generally involves killing everything to get what you want. So it's always the same thing, really. You get these world events as well. Some of them are more eventful than others, I guess. But basically, where something happens and you and other people online can all work together to kill a baddie or a set of baddies. But it's essentially the same. It's just kill everything. So all the time you're just killing everything, getting some better armor and getting some loot drops, hoping that the legendary ones, you get slots for your weapons as well. You can go to various places in town or various towns to augment your weapons by putting slots in as well. These gems you can find, you can make the gems better by combining them. You can break them down. You can do it's all that kind of stuff. It's basically at the end of the day, it's literally leveling up by repeatedly going around killing everything, completing quests that generally involve either going into a dungeon and killing everything or doing a mission on the above the world and killing everything. It's generally just killing everything. So it is what it is. People who love Diablo might think this is a negative way of saying it, but I think that's just what it is. That's literally what this game is about. It's about picking the character, improving the character, leveling it up, going down a skill tree, picking your customizing your character to have the best build that does things that complements other parts of the build. So you might have spend some points in your skill tree to increase your, let's say, shadow damage if you're a necromancer. Then you might have another one to say, well, when you're, if you're necromancer, you can raise minions from the dead. You might say your minions, when your enemies are debuffed with shadow damage or whatever, then your minions have plus 10% attack or something like that. So you're complementing your abilities, and that's part of the fun, I think, just finding these builds that work really well. And as you get past the level cap, which is I think 70 or something like that, you get onto another sort of skill tree, which is just general augments. I think I've not got that far yet, but it's it goes on forever basically, and there's a massive amount to do there. And of course they'll add on expansions and stuff later on when they'll increase the level cap and do all sorts of things, add more character classes probably, stuff like that. So it seems basically pretty good. But as I say, to summarise, you are it's quite a bleak world. You're just wondering about doing missions. Eventually get some cutscenes, some things happen, but it's generally just go to here, kill everything, and then go from there to somewhere else, kill everything, pick up some quests on the way, get some more quests, do those quests. Generally involve killing everything. There's little dialogue things like my husband's gone missing, and then you find out he's been kidnapped by some demon or something. But then you end up having to kill the demon. And it's almost always the same thing. I've not really experienced any other types of missions. Sometimes there's ones where you got to survive for a certain amount of time, but it still really involves just killing everything. So I think that's it really. It's just basically like essentially a point and click game, sort of, by so far as you were using a mouse, or if you're using a controller, you're just running around pointing enemies to do various attacks and killing them. So it's not a point and click like Monkey Island, but it's that kind of thing. It's almost like a real-time strategy controls. As far as the PC is concerned, and obviously in the gamepad it'll be slightly different, but obviously a change to achieve that. But obviously you control one character rather than many. But you're still sort of moving, pointing to move somewhere, pointing to attack something, and it's that kind of thing really. I don't know what the controls like on the Xbox or the PlayStation, whatever. I don't know if you're just literally moving back and forth with the control pad where you're pointing on things, but on the PC that's kind of how it works. And so you just going around. It's almost like an MMO sort of the way it controls, but it doesn't attack automatically. yeah, you just, let's say, go from point A to point B to point C, back to A, to then to D, then to E, then back to A, then maybe to Z, and then back to A. But every time you do that, every mission you do, it's basically killing everything. And the whole joy of the game is just how you can create your character and how you can personalize it and how you can get it to be as efficient as possible insofar as the damage output it does and or the support it provides to a party. There's various online options, playing with friends, guilds, things like this. But at the end of the day, it's getting loot, rare loot, by killing bosses, increasing your character's abilities and levels, getting better equipment, and rinse and repeat. So there we go. But good voice acting, but very bleak looking game. Right guys, hope you enjoyed that. As I say, watch my gameplay footage of this if you want to see more. I've probably done some in the background as well so you can see what it's like. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.